Did you not hear me knocking on the door? What was that?
It knew my name.
What? Who called you?
An echo. A voice. Who knew that eventually I'd be on the other end of that call. Like he'd been dialing over and over, just waiting for my timeline to catch up. The timeline's bleeding. Am I bleeding? What the fuck just happened?
Or is it just a spam call and they tracked your location?
A spam call? Cait, they were able to sync with a decision that I made this morning. And they routed that call through a dead rotary phone. I mean, there's no power. It's not plugged into anything. That's oddly specific for fraud. And it's a very generous interpretation of my value as a mark.
Well, what did it want?
He didn't want anything. He gave me a message. It was like a hand passing something through the dark. Something that feels familiar, but it shouldn't. I guess he offered me a job. He told me someone has to work the line, and he gave me the impression that someone is me. But he was explicit about something. He told me never work the line alone. There are 2 chairs in there, and there are 2 of us.
So we're doing haunted office hours now? No thanks.
Cait, you owe me.
For what?
You crashed my car.
Oh my God, I lightly hit a mailbox.
Unbelievable. You obliterated a small post office.
It was icy.
It was July. You left my car abandoned with the keys in the ignition in the parking lot of a laundromat as it leaked gas. And then you disappeared for 5 months. And then, remember, you showed back up in Rhode Island with a sunburn in January, acting like nothing happened, saying you'd been helping a guy set up a koi pond in a basement. So now you answer phones with me from midnight till sunrise. I need somebody on shift with me.
On shift for what?
On shift for this, the Hex line. It's a phone line. People call, we answer. That's kind of the whole thing. And there's apparently an archive in the basement for research, and something is different about the time's different here. Like it doesn't follow you out of the office in the way you'd expect. And now you're staring at me.
That's your pitch?
You know what? You're right. Cosmic Dispatch Operator just doesn't have quite the same ring as Craigslist Janitor.
Why are you acting like any of this is normal?
Oh, I'm not. I just don't think full psychological collapse is good for customer service morale.
Customer service? For who?
We're about to find out. It's after midnight. The veil is thin. I'm your host, Sam Halen, clocking in for the night shift on the Hex Line. Hello, you've reached the Hex Line, an after-hours paranormal dispatch line. Operators are standing by.
Hey, my name's Robin. I'm a wedding videographer, and I'm calling because of something that's been happening since I shot this wedding at Hammond Castle in Gloucester recently. I shoot film, and then I scan and I edit digitally. So I've been reviewing the footage, and I keep seeing these shadow figures on the film, and I'm not seeing them in the digital files. I can explain a slight anomaly 100 different ways, but they don't even stay in the same place from frame to frame. And there's something even weirder with the audio. At first I thought, it's just a line caught between rooms, but I can't isolate the clip. I keep hearing it in my headphones while I'm editing alone at night, and it's almost like the audio jumps to different frames. I tried to show it to my assistant, but I can't find it when she's there, It sounds like someone's asking, "How do you like the castle?" I hear it in my headphones at least once per session, like it's checking in on me. Do you think it is?
Overlooking the restless waters of Gloucester, Massachusetts, stands a castle that seems out of place and out of time. A fortress made of stone and wild imagination, built not in medieval Europe, but in 1920s New England. Its towers rise from the seaside like a half-remembered dream, drawbridge opening not to knights or kings, but to something stranger. This is Hammond Castle, and since its construction, it's been a place where genius, madness, and the supernatural convene at a crossroads. The man who built it is the eccentric John Hays Hammond Jr., one of the most inventive minds of his age. Hammond was born on April 13, 1888, in San Francisco. As the son of a wealthy mining engineer, his father's work would lead the family across continents, from the rugged mines of South Africa to the drawing rooms of London. It was there in England that the young Hammond first laid eyes on a real castle built with cold stone, heavy gates, and hidden stairways. He fell in love instantly. That fascination with old-world grandeur would follow him for life. When the family returned to America, a chance to visit Thomas Edison's laboratory changed everything. The curious 12-year-old peppered Edison with questions until the famed inventor took him under his wing. As Hammond grew into a young adult, he was accepted into Yale's Sheffield Scientific School, where he studied engineering with a focus on telephony and radiodynamics. It was during his time at Yale from 1906 to 1910 that he met Alexander Graham Bell, a connection that would shape the rest of his life. Bell became not only a mentor, but a close friend. Someone Hammond later described, along with Tesla, as one of his scientific godfathers. Hammond's work with Bell would eventually lead to his doctorate of science and marked his place in the world of inventors. From his mentors, Hammond absorbed a rare blend of curiosity, discipline, and the conviction that imagination could be made real through science. His mind reached far beyond the limits of machines. He sought answers to questions unknown and dreamt of unseen powers. Hammond's fascination with the supernatural didn't emerge in isolation. While working alongside his contemporary, Tesla, the visionary inventor behind the alternating current system that still powers modern electrical grids, the two often explored the possible connections between electricity and consciousness. Tesla believed the brain functioned like a receiver, with thoughts arriving from outside ourselves, much like radio signals. Hammond took that idea to heart. Hammond's inventions would go on to change the world. He became known as the father of radio control, and Hammond secured over 400 patents while working as an inventor for the US government. And he worked to develop modern understanding of sound amplification and early guidance systems for torpedoes. When his free time allowed, Hammond turned his talents to building mechanical organs, automatic pianos, and even early television prototypes. He was unable to separate science from art, or man from machine. Construction of his castle began in 1926, during which time the Gloucester locals must have thought Hammond crazy. He ordered shiploads of European relics like carved archways from French cathedrals, medieval doors, 15th century storefronts, even ancient gravestones, all to be pieced together in Gloucester, Massachusetts. The castle blended eras seamlessly. A Roman column next to a Gothic arch, a Renaissance courtyard. He even had artisans beat new wood and concrete until it looked 500 years old. The effect revealed chisel steps that appeared to be worn over time by the ghosts of some vague and mysterious past. Among Hammond's many curiosities were macabre artifacts, including a child's sarcophagus and the skull of a crewman who had sailed with Christopher Columbus. The centerpiece of the castle, however, was a pipe organ. With over 84,000 pipes, it was one of the largest in the world. Hammond claimed he'd built the castle just to hold it. Once Hammond's castle was complete, it became the perfect setting for his peculiar habits and theatrical tricks that would soon define his reputation. "People walk past here," Hammond once said, "and they're not always sure what they're seeing." And Hammond knew this to be true because he had a secret. Hidden behind the hand-carved stone and European tapestries were false walls, wires, pipes, and pulleys that could summon thunder, a rolling mist of fog through the courtyard, or a cloud of rain that could drench guests where they stood in the hallway. He built secret passageways that led to hidden balconies, and he used them often. Friends and visitors would stay overnight in the castle's guest rooms, only to awaken in the dead of night as Hammond appeared suddenly through a concealed panel in the wall. "What do you think of the castle?" he would ask, only to disappear before anyone could respond, leaving the guests standing in the flickering candlelight, believing they had just encountered a ghost. But Hammond's antics went far beyond simple pranks. He once dyed the courtyard fountain a deep green to conceal the pool beneath it, and on more than one occasion he would dive in fully clothed, emerging with a roar of laughter as horrified guests looked on. Hammond reveled in the spectacle. As one curator later put it, Hammond was, quote, "utterly theatrical, a P.T. Barnum of science." And for him, the performance never stopped. True to his love of classical art, he even commissioned a nude statue of himself in the style of a Greek sculpture and presented it to his wife as a gift. She despised it. After modestly adding a fig leaf, she placed it in the front lawn overlooking the sea. During parties, guests would mischievously remove the fig leaf, much to Mrs. Hammond's irritation. Hammond's castle was so much more than just a home, though. It was a laboratory and a safe haven for the eccentrics and misfits of the time, and a place of total experimentation. Traditional values couldn't explain the unconventional bond he shared with his wife, nor could they contain the ways he challenged social and sexual norms. The stone fortress became a refuge for him and his close circle of kindred spirits, a space where they could live freely and express their truest selves without restraint. During Hammond's lifetime, spiritualism was sweeping through America, and nowhere more fervently than New England. Boston, in particular, had become a city of ghosts. Spiritualism promised proof of an afterlife, and its message appealed not just to the grieving, but to the reformers and the freethinkers. It allowed women to speak publicly, to preach, and to lead. By the 19th century, seances, trance healing, and ghost photography were very common in Boston. But as technology advanced, the line between faith and science blurred. Electromagnetism, radio waves, telegraphs, all invisible forces that could transmit messages, gave new life to the old meaning that consciousness itself might just be another type of energy. With his wife Irene at his side, Hammond explored the invisible energies through science and seance. And when science could no longer make sense of what he felt, he turned to the occult. Him and his wife were well known to hold seances at the castle, and they were often reported as trying to contact the other side. As he worked, tucked away inside the castle and surrounded by artifacts of centuries long gone, he would attempt to prove that even the human mind could reach beyond the veil of death. His next big exploration in 1952 was one of the first of its kind. He was about to test whether extrasensory perception, or ESP, relied on electromagnetic energy. To aid in his experiment, Hammond invited Eileen Garrett to the castle, an Irish medium of international renown. Her reputation was sharply divided, praised by researchers like Duke University's Joseph Rhine for her apparent psychic abilities, yet dismissed by skeptics as a very clever fraud. Hammond, captivated by the possibility that the mind might reach beyond physical limits, saw her as the ideal test subject. Inside the stone walls of his castle's great hall, Hammond built a massive 3-layered Faraday cage. It resembled a towering metal chamber, thick lattices of copper mesh sandwiched between steel plates, all bolted into a frame that hummed faintly when powered. When the door sealed shut, not a single radio signal or electromagnetic wave could penetrate its walls. Eileen was placed inside the chamber with a scientist and a recorder at her side. Outside, Hammond's team gathered their instruments, connected to random electrical switches set nearly a quarter-mile away. With the final latch locked and the generators engaged, the test began. The air inside the cage grew stifling as electrical currents pulsed through its layers. Some later claimed that the floor beneath it darkened during the experiment, a smoky stain said to have been caused by the energy coursing through the wires, still visible today. From within the cage, Eileen was asked to describe images and numbers selected by researchers on the outside. If she could identify them accurately, it would suggest that thought could travel without relying on electromagnetic waves. And to Hammond's astonishment, she did. Repeatedly, Eileen Garrett delivered responses that seemed far beyond chance. For Hammond, these results were revelatory. If Eileen Garrett's telepathic impressions could pierce the electromagnetic barrier, then thought itself, he reasoned, must operate by a force beyond conventional physics. The experiments became confirmation of a lifelong belief that invention and imagination, science and spirits, were not rivals, but intertwined strands of the same mysterious fabric of reality. After the experiments in the castle concluded, strange things began to happen, as if some unseen doorway had been left ajar. Visitors started to report hearing music when the organ stood silent. They would watch lights flickering though no power line fed them, and they would see shadows of a man crossing the empty courtyard when no one else was there. Was it possible that the castle, built from centuries of relics, had absorbed the energy of countless lives, now had been stirred awake by Hammond's experiment? Hammond believed it, and he devoted the rest of his life to uncovering what he thought lay just beyond the edge of science. In his later years, he pursued these mysteries with the same determination that had driven his inventions, convinced he was on the verge of a discovery greater than anything he had achieved before. However, it is unknown if Hammond was able to discover anything beyond what he recorded after these experiments. In 1965, at the age of 76, Hammond passed away. Per his request, he was buried on the grounds of his namesake castle, 6 feet beneath a blanket of poison ivy. And since his death, many who have walked the grounds of the castle have claimed that the poison ivy couldn't keep Hammond's spirit in. It's almost as if Hammond is unwilling to leave his great experiment unfinished. Maybe the castle was just a conduit to connect his passions of the supernatural with his physical legacy remaining here on Earth. Like Hammond said in a letter to his father, "After I am gone, all my scientific creations will be old-fashioned and forgotten. I want to build something in hard stone and engrave it for posterity, a name of which I am justly proud." Whatever the case, Hammond's castle has continued to welcome lost souls long after his death, as if proving his theory. Maybe Hammond really did open a door to somewhere else, because it is said that Hammond is not the only spirit on the grounds. The spirit of a long-dead groundskeeper is said to tend the gardens decades after his shift has ended, his footsteps still heard crunching in the gravel after dark. A red-haired woman no one can name appears only at weddings. Another woman, perhaps Irene herself, is seen drifting through the stone corridors, restless and searching. Perhaps the spirits are tied to the tombstones, the church doors, or the sarcophagus of a child that was never buried. Today, visitors continue to feel the eerie but welcome presence of Hammond, as well as the others. Faces and shadow figures unknown, temperature drops in the Great Hall, and the sound of a voice whispering Hammond's favorite question, "What do you think of the castle?" Hey Robin, strange happenings at Hammond Castle are pretty much the house specialty. Hammond enjoyed being hurt in life, and it seems he has not given that up in death. Is it socially inappropriate? Maybe. Is it supernaturally illegal? No. So, our recommendation is simple. Answer his question.
Hex line is now closed. Please hold for casual hex.
Hello and welcome to Casual Hex, the live discussion segment that delivers you right back into reality. I'm here with Cait Hurley. Hi, Cait. Welcome back.
Hello. Thanks for having me back. So a haunted or potentially haunted Hammond Castle. I feel like there are certain places where the veil is thin, physics-wise, from what I can understand. So we've got this castle made out of stone and it's on the Atlantic Ocean and there's like weird interactions that I don't...
Salt, wind.
Yeah, I'm like, are things rubbing together in a weird way?
I mean, that's atmospheric interactions with different elements, and
That's what I'm saying.
it stands to reason that
I just can't let this go. At one point, I was researching the Bridgewater Triangle, which it's considered they call it a paranormal vortex. So it's unfortunately, Hammond Castle is not near the Bridgewater Triangle, but what I'm trying to get at is in the Bridgewater Triangle, there's all of these weird occurrences that happen around certain types of stones. And are you familiar? This is going to turn into a whole nother thing, but are you familiar with Missing 411?
no.
All these people that went missing under weird circumstances. But the thing that ties them all together, I feel like the Always Sunny meme with the red strings connecting.
Pepe Sylvia, Charlie, just being like, Carol.
I'm connecting all the strings together.
Yeah.
But all of these interesting, kind of horrifying places where weird, mysterious things happen are all happening due to a certain type of stone being there. And it's like how it interacts with the air and the salt and this and that. And I'm wondering if Hammond Castle is a place like that, especially because I know this man was a scientist and this man worked with Nikola Tesla or something. Tesla's involved. You don't think weird stuff's happening?
I know weird stuff's happening.
We know like Hammond Castle is still mysterious, regardless of how deep into the history we've gone. I can't really explain any of that. Can you, Sam?
I mean, I don't know. Is the veil thin, or is it the perfect marriage of seaside elements meets force? I don't know. Parts of me lean to the latter. Clearly a lot of hijinks in this castle. My favorite part of this being you're just casually walking down a hallway and suddenly a rainstorm just erupts in the middle of that's the kind of stuff I want billionaires to spend their money on.
Yeah, billionaires, can you bring back the whimsy, please? At least if you're going to be destroying the planet, like be whimsical about it.
At least let it be.
Can you at least like have a bit? I wanted to find more to talk about, but there really isn't more detail other than him and his wife had a lot of seances.
Yeah.
Which is like, that's just kind of a straightforward, they're just doing seances for fun.
How many ghost stories have we heard that start with a bunch of idiot kids using a Ouija board and
I agree.
fucking up a house for the rest of its life?
But I also find it interesting when it's the opposite of idiot kids. It's one of the greatest inventors of the century, one of the brightest minds, one of the most educated people.
Right, but there's no education in the supernatural. And by that, I just mean supernatural experiences aren't limited to scientists or people with a parapsychology degree. Hammond spent his lifetime using science and his engineering degree to build a bridge to the other side. But I don't think that made him more likely to contact a ghost. Although maybe statistically, Hammond was more likely, but just by virtue of how often he's attempting it. So,
well, it's just regardless of who they are, we're all secretly deep down interested.
We want to know what we don't know.
I also think, for me personally, because I love conspiracies and I love all that kind, like I love anything like that. I'm always like, what are
your thoughts on 9/11?
You all don't want to know. Actually, no, I can't even. No. So, but what the rich, elite, educated, whatever people are doing, and that's kind of like relevant to today. Like what weird stuff are they doing behind closed doors? I want to know about.
Yeah, like black goo and effigies and all kinds of weird shit.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, like Hammond Castle was a place where elite, rich, powerful people went to go do seances.
Yeah.
I want to know more about what they're doing in those seances.
Like, what do they know that we don't know?
That's what I'm saying. Like you said, you could be an idiot kid at a sleepover doing a seance, whatever. What access, like, do the rich people have better access to, like, he's got all these powerful experimental tools and he has the technology and the energy. He's friends with freaking Edison and Tesla.
Yeah.
You don't think that they're using weird electricity? Again, I don't know how to, I I understand the science in my brain, but I don't have the words to verbalize
Okay, but
it.
I don't understand the science either in practice or in theory, because why from then to now, like we never moved the needle. What did they discover that they refuse now to let us know? Again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but
this is the type of conspiracy that I personally am interested in when it comes to what are these people doing? What are they hiding? They have unlimited resources. This is a case where a lot of people just assume I can't talk. A lot of people assume Hammond Castle would be haunted because of like the tombstones and the sarcophagus, which note was never used.
People always say that, and no one, when you die, you tend to remain, like you remain where you died, not where you're interred. So everyone's like a haunted cemetery. And I'm like, that's probably the last place I'm going to go to look for ghosts.
Yeah, I agree, actually. Especially if you never spent time there in your life. Like, why would the ghost from... he had Roman tombstones imported. Why is this ghost from Rome going to come over on the boat with the tombstone?
I think there are definitely cases where people say there are artifacts that ghosts are tied to, but in this case, I mean,
it doesn't seem like that's what I'm trying to get at. Hammond Castle does not seem like a case of it's haunted because of the items.
Yeah.
It's haunted, I think, because of the energy, because there weren't really reports of hauntings until after these experiments.
If you go looking for something, you're probably going to find something. I can't promise it's going to be the thing you're looking for, but obviously he was looking for something. He invited some energy, something there, and obviously the imprint of that remains.
I agree.
I just want to know in what capacity. Like, what is it? Just people? A lot of folks say like the energy that's left over is just kind of that same
residual.
Residual in time repeating itself. Oh my God, I have so many things. This is going to go
know.
I have a whole other school of thought on this about
how. No, so do I, because it's kind of going back to the physics things. We're like, I think, both of us, we love the supernatural, we love the paranormal, but we're skeptical. 99% of paranormal activity, or whatever you want to call it, is just science that we don't have the words for. Were his experiments literally fucking with the time continuum in that area, and now events are looping? Okay. They're kind of trapped in that. And we could rant about this forever. And it's getting kind of late. I'm ready for coffee.
Ooh, and I am ready for a dirty martini. Yes. Gin, obviously. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you, Cait, for being here again. And in the words of our dearly departed brother and Margarita, it might be 2 a.m. here, but it is 5 o'clock somewhere. Cue the music. Hexline was created, written, edited, mixed, and produced by me, Sam Halen. Original music and mastering by Bill Shaner. Pre-launch production photography by Jesse Moss. The story of Hammond Castle was written and delivered by Cait Hurley. Thanks to Cait for joining me again today, and thanks to Kelsey Francis, who you heard play the role of Robin in the call at the top of our show. If you like the show, please consider rating us wherever you listen. For visual companions to our episodes, follow us on Instagram at Hexline Podcast. If you have a story you'd like to tell on the podcast, please shoot me an email, hexlinepodcast@gmail.com.